Come and get it! Hey!
So, I know what you're thinking. Why is that incredibly handsome hedgehog being chased by a madman with a mustache from the Civil War? Well, to be honest, it feels like I've been running my whole life. Is this too much? Am I going too fast? It's kind of what I do. You know what? Let's back up.
Back in April 2020, Final Fantasy VII Remake came out. While the Japanese voice cast returned for the remake, the English cast did not. It wasn't just 2 or 3 voice actors that went missing, the entire cast was replaced. I know most people don't mind the new voice actors for the remake, or even realize that there were new voice actors at all, but the change just feels so unnecessary. This video isn't meant to bully or disrespect the new cast. It's not their fault they were hired. Besides, there's always the option of playing or watching the Japanese version instead. And the voice acting isn't awful at all. The execution could have been a lot worse.
Is something wrong? So I'll stay here. And I'll cheer for you.
But I still stand by wanting the old actors back. With Crisis Core Reunion coming out, the voice acting is practically impossible to ignore. Especially for Zack, since he's the main character this time.
It doesn't matter. This is great.
In an interview with IGN, the FF7 Remake developers explained the reason for the casting change. They said that since Remake is set before the events of Advent Children, they needed a younger cast and a new generation of voice actors that would be suitable for expressing younger versions of the characters. But this reason doesn't make any sense. You don't always need younger voice actors to voice slightly younger versions of characters. Plenty of anime dubs have the same actors voicing the same characters at ages that are decades apart.
I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. No, what I want is to slaughter the entire Leaf Village, but only by myself. Actually, if anything's going in the river, Kakashi, it should be you!
Besides, if the creators were really serious about finding a new generation of voices, then why didn't they recast the Japanese actors? I get that you can't always get the same voice actors back. It's difficult to cast the same people if there's been a big gap between titles. Sometimes you have to replace 2 or 3 people because they either retired or have other complications. But every single actor was replaced for the remake. It can't be a coincidence, especially since most of the actors have been consistently voicing these characters for 16 years. They could have rehired most of the legacy cast for remake if they wanted, but they willingly chose not to. To be fair, the original FF7 didn't have any voice acting at all, but since that game, the characters have appeared in so many major spin-offs and sequels, and their voices are just as iconic as the characters. I didn't grow up with the original FF7, but I did grow up with Crisis Core, Advent Children, and everything else that came after. Voice acting is just as important as on-screen acting. You can't swap an entire cast and expect people not to notice or care. The line delivery makes such a huge difference in how the characters are perceived. This is most obvious with Zack. In the original Crisis Core, Zack is upbeat, energetic, and friendly, but Zack's original VA, Rick Gomez, gave the character an added edge to his personality. Zack's not just kind and friendly, but he's also cool and attractive. He's easygoing, but in an admirable kind of way.
Thank you. You'll charge the front gate and...
And?
Indulge yourself.
You got it. That's what I do best.
I was on my way to Modeoheim, but I heard you were in the area.
Lucky me.
Zack's voice in the remaster makes him seem so nerdy.
A soldier trademark.
Oh, you.
Color of the sky, right? A soldier trademark.
Oh, you.
Color of the sky, right?
If people had wings, they'd be monsters.
What the hell did you do, Angeal? If people had wings, they'd be monsters. What the hell did you do, Angeal?
When I think of Zack, I think funny and cool, not dorky. He sounds like he stumbled out of a 4Kids anime dub.
You must be the anti-soldier monsters. I'm ready to be a hero. Director Lazard, are you watching? Gotta move.
All the warmth, charisma, and charm in Zack's voice is gone. It's almost like he's a different character entirely.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep.
Boy, oh boy. The price of freedom is steep.
In this scene, there's so much raw emotion in his voice. It feels so heartbreaking and perfectly in line with the tone of the scene. In the remake, the lighthearted delivery almost makes it feel like a joke. I know the original voice acting wasn't perfect, but it still had a special charm to it. Out of all the voice changes, I can't get over this one.
No, you're not. You're not the Sephiroth I once knew!
Tyler Hoechlin replaced George Newbern as Sephiroth in the remake. Honestly, the new voice for Sephiroth isn't bad, but it's not better than the original. While Sephiroth's voice in the remake is playful and taunting, Sephiroth's original voice is menacing and intimidating, the kind of voice that strikes fear into you.
Good to see you, Cloud. Mother. Let's take back the planet together. I had an epiphany.
Mother. Together we will reclaim our world. Oh, you need not remind me. It was the crowning moment of our time together.
Those remnants will join the life stream and girdle the planet, choking it, corroding it.
There's so much complexity to his voice that it can't be labeled as just scary either. His voice is cold, calculated, and evil. Newbern's voice has an added bass to it, and it's that subtle difference that makes a huge impact.
Showing your back to the enemy. Overconfidence will destroy you. Is this the pain you felt before, Cloud?
This might be my personal bias, but I feel like Sephiroth's new voice sounds lackluster at times.
You have failed again, I see. This planet is my birthright.
Project G gave birth to the man we know as Genesis.
Project G.
Project Genesis.
Project G gave birth to the man we know as Genesis.
Project G.
Project Genesis.
It means Angeal has betrayed us as well.
It means Angeal has betrayed us as well.
And yes, this is from the announcement trailer, so it's not fair to nitpick a few lines from one scene. But even from those few lines, Sephiroth in Reunion sounds stiff and wooden compared to the original Crisis Core. Sephiroth's personality comes off so strongly in Newbern's performances that his voice carries a cutscene even when the animation is limited.
There you are.
Do I know you?
I am your enemy. That is all you need to know.
It's a shame we never got to hear his voice in the remake cutscenes. I think this YouTuber's comment sums it up perfectly. While Hoechlin's voice fits Sephiroth, Newbern is Sephiroth.
Show me your strength.
But through suffering, you will.
That's enough.
Tifa's voice is different. I know lots of people got used to the new voice actress, but Tifa's voice in the remake still feels so out of place to me. Britt Baron did a decent job, but Rachel A. Cook's voice suited Tifa's personality much better. For a character who's supposed to be reserved and emotionally shy, Tifa's voice in the remake is a bit too harsh and forceful. Tifa's original voice is soft and sweet, but still spunky and tough.
Hey you! Have any of you seen a guy with spiky hair? Spikier.
There's no cure.
Yeah, but that's not stopping Denzel, is it? Don't run. Let's fight it together. We can help each other. I know we can.
Sorry. We spent the rest preparing for the mission. That really is it. But not for long. I'm collecting money for filters tomorrow, so I can pay you after. How sweet. When did you get so thoughtful?
Giving Tifa a lower voice in the remake contradicts the gentle personality they're trying to convey with her. I'm not saying you should never replace voice actors, but if you're going to hire new talent to voice characters from a beloved franchise, then they should be up to par with the originals. Maybe even surpass them, because people are going to compare them to the originals. The new games don't exist in their own separate vacuums, and to me, these voices aren't better than the originals, so why replace them when you could have gotten most, if not all, of the original cast? A similar thing happened to the Barbie movies. Kelly Sheridan voiced Barbie in all 21 of Mattel's movies for almost 10 years. Then, in 2010, they replaced her with Diana Krina. They wanted a new voice to match the new direction they were going with in the movies, shifting from classic princess stories to fashion stories. But part of what made these movies so popular was Kelly Sheridan's iconic princess voice. Apparently, lots of other people thought the same thing, because Mattel rehired Kelly Sheridan after fans appealed to bring her back. That is, until they fired her again in 2015. Sometimes companies don't even bother reaching out to the main voice actors and just go ahead and replace them. In the Kingdom Hearts franchise, Hayden Panettiere had been Kairi's voice up until 2017, when she was replaced by Alison Stoner. And while it makes sense on the surface, considering Kairi had been practically MIA in the games for 7 years, it turns out they didn't even bother asking Hayden Panettiere to come back at all. I think it's a huge disservice to put all this effort into the remake and then treat the English voiceovers almost like an afterthought. These are story-based games, which rely so heavily on the characters. and a story that relies so heavily on the characters can't use visuals alone to deliver emotion to the story. The tone of a character's voice, the subtle changes in the way their voices rise and fall, the complexity and emotion in how they deliver their lines. All these influence the way we see the characters and the way we feel about them, making a difference between a performance that is passable to one that is powerful and enigmatic.
The character is a great character because he has a past. He has a heaviness about him. I guess I'm the first guy who's playing Cloud here in America, which is just a great honor anyway, so I hope I don't mess it up.
Thank you so much for watching. I want to know what you think. Do you prefer the old actors, the new ones, a few of the old, a few of the new? Or are you fine either way? Let me know in the comments.